right, hit the button. All right, I think I hit the button. So welcome to the podcast, guys. This is Randall Thor 19, one of the co-hosts for the Xbox 2 podcast. And with me, as always, the one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central, who may or may not have a much better mic. Let us take a listen and see.
Is it better? Does it sound better?
I like how you say better.
Better. Right, British people don't always fully enunciate their T's. I'm realizing. But yeah. What are people saying? Does it sound better? Do you think it sounds better?
Wait, there's a little bit of delay when you start doing this stuff. So let's see what people say. What do you guys think? Does Jed sound any better? He went out and splurged and got a much better mic than the one he was using. And when I first heard him in Discord, I'm like, "Whoa, Jez, you sound so much better. There's like full body to your voice now that I never knew was missing."
Man, I was using the microphone just on my headset before.
Oh, headset mics? Why would you want to use that?
Laziness. But now I've got like this Samsung mic on an arm, like a professional podcaster and all that stuff. So hopefully it's worth it, and hopefully it sounds a bit better, because it did sound a bit weird listening to it on SoundCloud, where I sound like a robot and you sound like crystal clear. It does sound a bit dumb.
Yeah.
So this is the first step towards making the podcast sound a bit better.
Yes,
and we'll see
it does.
what else we can do to.
We're gonna start adding some gameplay in the future. It's gonna be a proper podcast, as Jez would say. Proper podcast.
Proper professional podcasters.
I mean, let's just give some shout outs to some people in chat already. There's a whole bunch of people already here. Dead Captain James already with the super chat says, "Hey Rand, ready for a great show. Me and Jez are ready to bring it to you." Kid Smooth is in the chat. Last night, I had a great conversation with him and Dealer Gaming and Cold Eastwood that went on for quite some time. I don't get to talk to Kid Smooth that much anymore, like recently. I talk to Dealer and Colt all the time, and I wish Kid would join the parties more. But he put out a tweet last night, Jez, that said we were planning the destruction of the PlayStation fanboys in 2020, and you would not believe how many people thought he was being serious. Like, we were actually talking about PlayStation fanboys. Some people are just obtuse. I couldn't believe it. Like, my replies were awful. At least, like, maybe the people that follow Kid Smooth are awful, but I couldn't believe how many people thought it was like a real thing. But we got Indie Gamer, we got Captain Crunch, we got Dinero Primero, we got Darge tonight. What's going on, Darge? Got Indie Gamer, like I think I just mentioned. Whole bunch of people in chat. As you guys file in, make sure you hit the like button, share this out on Twitter, because we're 30 minutes late, and you can blame Jez for this one. Jez, why are we 30 minutes late? What's going on?
I was asleep.
You were asleep?
My sleep cycle is just messed up, man. But I thought I should have a bit of a sleep before we podcast. Otherwise, I'm going to be slurring my words and not being even less coherent than usual. So I thought I'd have a nap, but waking up from that nap proved difficult. So I apologize. But we're here in the end. We got here in the end.
I didn't know if we were going to do the show, which is why I didn't set it for 3. I was waiting for Jez to say, yeah, we're going to do it. And then right at like 3 o'clock, Jez is like, I'm here. And I'm like, oh man, well, you want to do it today or you want to do it tomorrow? And Jez says, hey, we're going to do it today. So I'm like, all right, let's set it for 30 minutes. So hopefully people got the notification. We know how YouTube is with all that stuff. And Jez has seen the Xbox Series X, folks. He's seen it.
I've seen it.
I have seen
it. With my own eyeballs.
Yes.
Man, well, not in the flesh, but I've seen it. I've finally seen like footage of it, which is, great. And also annoying because it was presumably about 12 hours after Brad Sams saw it. Shout out to Brad.
Yeah, shout out to Brad Sams. He does great work as well. And we're going to be talking about that whole AMD, what do you want to call that? AMD screw up. I mean, I want to use the F word, but we're a little bit too close to the beginning of this podcast. YouTube tends to pay attention to the beginning of streams. So if you say a naughty word at the beginning, they'll hit you, but you're free to say basically whatever you want an hour later. But yeah, there were some really big screw ups during that AMD press conference. I couldn't believe it.
I CES just the whole thing just feels less polished than say E3. But like that's typical for CES. It's funny because like usually gamers ignore CES completely, like except for PC gamers maybe. But there's rarely any good news for console gamers at CES. But this year, because Sony said they were going to be there, it was like it was a bit more on people's radars, right?
Yeah.
So it was just funny to see AMD with that epic screw up, which we'll talk about in a minute, I guess.
Yeah, so like I said, hit the like button. Let's get a whole bunch of likes in here. Let's get a whole bunch of people in here. We're going to be talking, obviously, what Jez has seen about the Xbox Series X, the ports in question, Phil's tease about the CPU. We're going to be talking about CES, the PS5 logo reveal that got people talking about likes. My company's got more likes than yours. Instagram, MySpace, all that stuff. Warner Brothers teasing another Batman game. It's like, I've had enough already. Just show me a trailer for the game. I'm getting sick of it. I'm probably going to rant on that. No Killer Instinct 2 in development. Mike Ibarra tweets again. And what do you know? He's these websites just keep on coming up with the best clickbait articles I've ever seen. Former executive Mike Ibarra. Or former Xbox executive Mike Ibarra chooses PlayStation 5. Oh, man. I had some good laughs. I was DMing Mike, and I was just like, yeah. Like, the dude's always been a PC guy, but all this stuff. And we're going to talk about our most anticipated games of 2020 right up here, because we're going to talk about the games we've been playing before we get into the segments, because as I've always said, the most important thing about gaming isn't all these topics that we're going to talk about, even though they're interesting. It's about the games. I'm all about the games. I haven't really been playing much, but we do talk about what we've been playing. And I actually started a game last. Oh, I gotta update the people. I lost my my 8 terabyte Seagate hub for Xbox died, Jez. I lost literally all my games on that 8 terabyte hub. It died. Well, I accidentally knocked it off the entertainment center it was on when I was cleaning, and it fell down.
It died.
It fell down 6 inches and died. Right, hit the floor and died.
I think you told me about this.
So I lost all my games. The only games I had installed on my SSD is Witcher 3 because I'm currently, in playing it again. And so I was like, oh man, I don't want to rebuy this. So I bought like a USB hub, and I started re-downloading some games last night. And I started to play. I don't even know how to say this. Like ACVI Invector. It's like a rhythm game based off like the artist, and it's incredibly cool. I wish we had set up like video for this where I could like show the gameplay of it. It's very much like you control like a spaceship on a fretboard, and notes come up the fretboard just like in Rock Band. And you gotta time it like X and A and left bumper. But it looks so cool and the music is so great. Like I was having a pretty damn good time playing that last night, so I'm gonna get through that game pretty quickly. And then I played some Pokemon, Jazz, and I told you I'm going to be done. I will be finished with Pokemon tonight. I will tweet that out. I will delete that game, and I will never, ever look What do you got to say about it? And you know what? You know what's funny?
I will say. You know what I'll say?
Okay, tell me.
What I'll say about that, Randy, is Pokemon just announced 2 expansions for Pokemon Sword and Shield.
That'd
be cool if you played those, don't you think? For charity next year when they come out. This year, sorry. Like later in the year when they come out. That'd be pretty cool if you played those for charity to help needy children.
I'm not doing any of like the only thing I'll do for charity again is if it's something I like. I hated this Pokemon game. I didn't want to play it. You forced me to. Like, you won this time. I am not playing the DLC for that game. I am done with it when I finish it. I think I'm on the 6th boss fight. I will be done tonight. I will tweet it out, and I will say, good riddance to garbage. Or whatever the saying is. I'm not playing that DLC. I don't care what Virgil Delgado says in chat. He says, Rand, you got to play the DLC. Not happening. Absolutely not happening. I don't care what Jess says. That was never part of the agreement. Jess said all I had to do was beat the champion in the base game, and that was it. And I'm done. And I'll be done. There.
Well, if that's how you feel, I guess.
that is how I feel. But what have you been playing, Jez? It's been a week. You been playing anything interesting? Because we're going to be talking about, as soon as you're done here, we're going to be talking about the games that we're looking forward to the most in 2020.
Yes, there's like a huge amount of games. Like I remember last year, because we always do those, most anticipated games for this year.
Whoa, whoa,
Sort
whoa,
of
whoa, whoa!
give
You
like
don't
all
got to
this.
talk about your most anticipated right now. What have you been
Oh,
playing this week?
I'm not.
Okay, okay, okay.
Well, I was just saying that. I was just saying that like last year there wasn't that many games that I put in there, partially because we didn't know a lot about what was coming. But this year, like this, I got like 25 games in there or something. But anyway, what have I been playing this week? I've been playing more Death Stranding, a lot more Death Stranding. Still loving it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on chapter 3 now. I'm playing it in short bursts. Still doing all the side quests and stuff. Haven't got bored of the side quests yet. And that sort of thing. I've also been playing a few indie games on Xbox Game Pass for PC. FTL, which is sort of like a 2D flying simulation game. It's really popular on Steam and it's really addictive. I can see why it's popular. So if you've got Xbox Game Pass for PC, check it out because the game's 2D. It'll run on a potato. It's a really good game if you've got a low end PC.
Mm-hmm.
And also from the same developer, Into the Breach, it's called. It's sort of like a turn-based tactical roguelike. I like those kind of games. Also 2D, also addictive, mechs and stuff like that. I really enjoy it. So before the podcast, me and Rand were talking about incorporating video in future shows. So like when you're watching the show live, you'll be able to see video. So in future, when we're talking about these like smaller games and indie stuff, like maybe we can even like, I'll pull it up on Xbox while we're live and you can have a quick look at it or something. Or on my PC rather.
Yeah, like me just like describing what Avicii, in Scepter is or whatever the name is, like doesn't really do it justice because it looks really cool and it plays great and the soundtrack is amazing. And it was a game that I knew about, but I had no intention of playing. And then I saw my buddy Shizblaka, who I watch quite often on Twitch. He's a friend of mine playing it. And I was watching and I'm like, okay, this is really cool. I need to play this game. So I downloaded it, put it on my SSD, and I'm like, let's play it. And I was playing it last night while we were having some great conversations in party chat. And I can't wait to go back and actually finish that and then get back to Pokemon, put that to bed forever. Never ever think about that game ever again. I hate you for that. You have no idea. Go back to Witcher 3, finish that. And then finally get into some games of 2020, Jez. The games that you're looking forward to the most. What would be your list of all the games that have an announced release date? Like something like Senua Saga, Hellblade 2, not announced for 2020. Can't really put it on there. Everwild, I know you're a big Rare fan. Not announced for 2020, can't be on there. So it's got to be announced for this year. Those are kind of the rules that I am like giving you here. So what are the games you're looking forward to the most?
Well, obviously Resident Evil 3, first of all, off the bat. Huge fan of the original game. Huge fan of what Capcom's doing recently. Nemesis 2.0 looks great. Like his design's been a bit divisive actually. Some people don't like it, but I think he looks a lot more tortured. I think it looks a lot more interesting than the previous Nemesis was like this badass, but the new Nemesis is like this please kill me, kind of monster. So I kind of like that. And also Empire of Sin. I'm really looking forward to that. If you've forgotten what Empire of Sin is, it's from Romero Games,
Mm-hmm.
the original creator of Doom. It's sort of like a XCOM meets Grand Theft Auto tactical game where you build up a criminal empire. Like, it's perfect kind of game for me. Set in Chicago, Rand, your
Right.
hometown.
Set in my hometown, yep. Is it set during like the era of Al Capone?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I figured as much. If you're going to do that type of game, it's got to be set back then, right?
Yeah, so it's like Prohibition era. You start off from like being a small time gangster, and then you build up to like running a massive criminal empire, running guns and alcohol during the Prohibition era and all that sort of stuff. And you have to manage the cops. You have to manage rival gangs. You have to manage interrelationships in your own gang, like. You can be betrayed. There could be spies in your gang, all that sort of stuff. So if you've never heard of it before, check out Empire of Sin on YouTube or something like that. It looks really, really cool. Man, there's loads of games. Like I'd have to like pull up a list and have a look because there really is quite a lot of games. I'm also looking forward to Man-Eater, that game where you
Mm.
play as a shark.
Yeah,
Have
he
you
plays the shark.
have
That
you
looks
seen that?
that looks pretty interesting.
Yeah. What else? Hang on. I'm just gonna pull. I'm just gonna pull up a list. Screw it. So we
There's
got
there's a
Doom
ton of
Eternal.
games coming out this year. Ton.
Yeah, there is. Wasteland 3, obviously, another turn-based tactical game, RPG set in the post-apocalypse. Really love Wasteland 2. Wasteland 3 looks like it's got way more polish than that game, so pretty excited for that. Then we got Doom Eternal. Obviously, that looks great. The Doom reboot was excellent, and Doom Eternal looks like it's that, but more of the same, but with even more violence, which is what I like. And then Gears Tactics, another turn-based tactical game. I really like my turn-based tactics.
Yes, you
Ryan.
do.
Really-
Gears Tactics, Wasteland 3. It seems like Xbox Game Studios is making games directly at your taste buds there.
Yeah, it's almost as if they're making everything that I'm telling them to make. Thanks, Microsoft. Keep it up. And then finally, for games that I'm looking forward to, Carry On. Have you heard of this game, Carry On?
Yes, I've heard of Carry On. Yep, it looks
It's
pretty
like
cool.
a
You play as
it's
like a blob or whatever, like killing
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
It's like a side-scrolling reverse horror game where you are the monster and you sort of like roll around a facility eating people. It's kind of like Man-Eater, but instead of a shark, you're a amorphous hell blob from the Thing. So that looks really good too. Really fun. So those are my most anticipated games. For games that we've got release dates for, obviously there's stuff like and Cyberpunk, obviously.
Yeah,
That
I was
kind
about
of
to
goes
say
without saying.
Cyberpunk, and I was about to say,
Yeah.
didn't you finish Last of Us and say it's one of your favorite games of all time? But I didn't hear any Last of Us 2 Part 2 in there either.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Last of Us 2 as well, obviously.
You're just like,
but-
Last of Us 2, whatever.
I mean, I enjoyed Last of Us, but like the last couple of missions were kind of like, man, have they've run out of ideas here kind of thing. I don't know if like that's a thing where people, I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't played, but if you're planning to go back and play The Last of Us, you should probably before playing The Last of Us 2. But like I thought like the last mission was like really tedious and lame. And it kind of took the joy of the game out for me. I really like didn't like the last mission that much. But yeah, I'm excited for that as well. But I don't know if I'll get it on launch because I'll just have so much to play around that time anyway. Like I don't know. When's that coming out exactly? It's quarter 2, right?
It comes out in May, I
Rand?
believe. It comes out. Oh, am I muted?
Have we lost Rand? Have we lost me? Am I
No,
disconnected?
no. I was muted. My bad. My phone was
sorry.
ringing. I didn't want people to have to hear it ring. Last
When's
of Us comes
2
out in May,
dropping?
I believe.
Ah, okay. Oh, okay. I thought it was coming out in April. For some reason I thought it clashed with Cyberpunk and Resident Evil.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind then. I'll get it on launch then.
So it'd be
Did you
pretty
get
tough
to
for
play
you to make like a top 10 list, right? Of like your your
well,
1 to 10. Because you didn't
I'm
even
still gonna
mention,
try.
like SubZedX says in chat, you didn't even mention Minecraft Dungeons.
Oh my god, yeah. Minecraft Dungeons as well.
So
See, there's a lot. There's a lot this year, isn't there? And we
yeah.
still we don't even have like, because sometimes you get like Ubisoft and Bethesda and stuff. They announce games at short notice, and they'll say, "Oh, by the way, this holiday, this is coming out, and this is coming out." So we don't even know what games are coming out in the holiday season. So this is going to be a big year. We're finishing the gen strong for a change, rather than sort of, just letting it fizzle out, which is sometimes happens.
Yeah, which is sometimes, but yeah, it's like one of those things where a lot of the games for end of the year haven't been announced yet because they're going to be tied to new console releases, whether they're announced with PlayStation at their reveal event or whether they're announced at Microsoft's reveal event or whether they're announced at E3. We don't really know anything past I think May. I think that's about where the known games kind of goes up to, and then everything's kind of like blank for the end of the year. And I will say, like, when you compare the beginning of this year to the beginning of last year, like, this year kills it. There are some great games coming out this year. So, like, for me, I mean, Ori 2, undoubtedly, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I'm in the process of working through my video for this, and I haven't decided if it's Ori and the Will-O-Wisp at number 1, or if it's Last of Us Part 2 at number 1. I have not made the decision because like I want both of those games, but the question is like, okay, if you could only play one of these games, like if they both came out the same day, which one would you play first? And it's like, that's a tough choice. What?
Are you going to make a top 10 list?
No, I am going to make a top 10 list. I just haven't really...
I might do it too.
I haven't really decided the order, but the way I usually look at the things is like, okay, if these games came out the same day, which one would you play? And...
You know what we should do, Ron? We should both make top 10 videos and release them on the same day.
Ooh, top 10 videos. So I'm looking forward to Ori 2 and Last of Us Part 2. Halo Infinite is probably third or right around there. Like, I love Halo. I can't wait to see what the 5 years gap that Microsoft has given them, the new Slip Space engine that they're working with, what that game's going to look like on Series X. I know like a lot of people said a lot of, and I'm one of them, about the campaign. I felt they kind of gave Chief the short shrift. They wanted to move to Agent Locke, which I don't have really a problem with Locke. If you want to make a spin-off game with Locke, go right ahead. But mainline Halo, not about Agent Locke. It's about one man, and that's the Master Chief. So I was kind of disappointed with the Halo 5 Guardians campaign. The multiplayer was excellent. My hope is 343 actually gets it right and actually provides both of those this time. And then Halo Infinite's going to be absolutely massive. So that's like my third. Man, Ghost of Tsushima. I've loved everything they've shown of Ghost of Tsushima so far. I even kind of get a Sekiro vibe from it. Kind of, like a Last Jedi or the Star Wars game. So I look at that and I'm like, man, like I think Ghost of Tsushima could be really cool. What else? Resident Evil 3 because of how much I love Resident Evil 2. Doom Eternal was great. But man, there are a lot of games coming in the first 5 months. And I can't wait for the end of the year because presumably we're going to have a new Assassin's Creed game.
Do you think we'll have it this year, given that Ubisoft went through that massive soul-searching mission and delayed everything?
Yeah, I think definitely there'll be an Assassin's Creed game. Well, I mean, they went through that soul-searching and they delayed the 3 games that were supposed to be coming out to little. It's not like the 3 games that they announced for this year: God of Monsters, Watch Dogs, and what's the third one? God of Monsters, Watch Dogs, and Rainbow Six Siege Quarantine. They all got literally pushed back a little bit. I don't think any of them got actually pushed back into 2021. So I think those will come out. Who knows? But I do think Assassin's Creed Code. I guess it's supposed to be called Ragnarok. There have been some leaks around it. I think that's gonna be showed off at Sony's reveal event and come out at the end of the year. Then what we're going to be talking about here in a minute, the new Batman game. They've been teasing it like crazy, and it's getting me pissed off. So we might as well just move on to that and get into the topics, right? So you guys hit the like button if you're here. We appreciate you. And if you're listening to this later, how's it going? Hope you're having a great day, great weekend, and whenever you're listening to this. Warner Brothers is teasing a new Batman again. And you know what? I'm getting
for a long time now, right?
That's the thing. I'm getting fed up. I love Batman, okay? The Batman Arkham series, one of my favorites. And it's been so long since Arkham Knight, which came out in 2015, that I'm sitting there okay, when's the next game? We don't know what Rocksteady's working on. We know this game is made by Warner Brothers Montreal, who made Batman Arkham Origins, and that came out all the way back in 2012. So it's been 8 years, or maybe it was 2013 when Arkham Origins came out. So either it's been 7 years or it's been 8 years or however long, right? And they tweet something back in September of last year, and they're like, okay, it's some images and some logos. And it's all right, Batman's back. And everyone's thinking, well, when's it coming? When are they going to reveal this? And the VGAs came and went and nothing happened. It was oh, come on. And then today, they're tweeting out all these different images. And I'm like, you know what? At this point, it's been 7 or 8 years. You teased it last year. Now you're teasing it again. Enough with the damn teases. Just show me the game. Give me a 1-minute trailer announcing the game. That's all I need. Stop with the stupid teases with all these logos within logo. I swear we better not be going through next month. There'll be another logo within that little circle. Next month there'll be another logo, and finally leading up to E3. Enough is enough. Reveal the game already, please. I need that Batman game. I need that Batman game. Like, you were talking about like most anticipated. Like, that Batman game gets announced, that goes in my top 5. It'll be like Ori, Last of Us Part 2, Halo Infinite, Batman. Like, it pushes everything else down. We're talking, for me, top 5 game of this year, whenever it comes out. I'm just getting sick of all the teasing. Just, no other, like, company really does that sort of teasing. It's like, they maybe tease, like, an announcement, and then, like, they show a video or whatever. They've been teasing this shit since last year in September. Enough of it. I'm getting sick. Jez, are you a Batman fan?
Arkham Knight was a bad game.
Well, I mean, it wasn't as good as Arkham Asylum or Arkham City. I'll give you that. I'll give you that much.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad game, but man, by the end of that game, I reviewed that game for Windows Central, and I was just like, I want this game to end. I'm sick of this game. I hate this stupid tank. I hate these repetitive missions. I hate this boring open world. I really like if it wasn't for Mark Hamill and the story arc, that game would have been like, I would have probably given it a 6 out of 10. I think I gave it 7 in the end. But man, I don't care really about what Warner Brothers does, because also I wasn't a big fan of Arkham Knight, and Shadow of War was like such a missed opportunity, and those microtransactions were just so aggressive in that game. It felt like the whole like end game and getting to the true ending was set up specifically to force you to buy microtransactions. So for me, I don't care really what Warner Brothers does. They like need to redeem themselves in my eyes. Yeah. So like they can tease their little Batman game. I don't care. I don't care if they tease a Batman game, because the last game wasn't that good, and their other game that published wasn't that good. So whatever. That's where I'm at with it. And I am a Batman fan. Like, I buy the comics and stuff, and you know, I just don't have. It's more Warner Brothers that I have an issue with than the developers. I think Warner Brothers are just they're just greedy with it at the moment.
I mean, I get you, and someone says, why are they not paying attention to chat? I'm paying attention to chat all the time. In fact, I see someone upset that Cyberpunk's not in my top 5. It's in my top 10. Ori.
It's not in your top 5?
Well, Ori, Last of Us Part 2, Halo Infinite, Ghost of Tsushima, and Resident Evil 3. So it's like Resident Evil. Like, I haven't finalized this list, so it's either going to be Cyberpunk at 5 or Resident Evil 3 at 5. So it's either 5 or number 6 for games that are currently announced. But like, all these games are high profile. I mean, it doesn't really matter what number they sit at. I'm looking forward to them so much in comparison to the games that were announced last year. So really, don't people. That's what people do when you like make lists, right? Oh, the top 100 games of the decade, or the top 10 games of this year, or your most anticipated. They always just focus on the number. It's like, oh, how could this one be 7 and this one be 2? Like, what's wrong with you? You know, it's like, don't focus so much on the number, because I'm looking, like, all those games are going to be amazing, and I'm going to be playing them all day one. It's just that, like, certain ones are just a little bit, we're talking tiny incremental, like, incremental increments. I'm such an idiot, but you know, like, Cyberpunk is right there. It's like number 6 or number 5. It's just some of those other games. It's like, I would play Ori over Cyberpunk. Kill me. And I know a lot of people in the chat will be like, that's blasphemy. But it doesn't matter, because it's my top 10. This is my podcast with Jez, so I'll say whatever I want to say. You know, jeez. Anyways, Batman, I just want them to reveal the game. Like, I don't care if it's at Sony's press conference. I don't care, whatever. Just stop with the teasing already. It's enough. And there's so much teasing already. The game better be good. You've had 8 years. It better be good. So that's all I'm gonna say on that.
It has been a long time.
It has been a long time. Sea of Thieves, Jazz. I saw you tweet about this, so I figured we'll talk about it for a minute before we get into the big Xbox Series X stuff, where you can tell people, I've laid eyes onto the Xbox Series X. And it's like a little gif of Hugh Jackman in the fountain where he's like mind is being exploded, right? You know what I mean? You know that gif I'm talking about?
Yep.
That,
I know
that that was Jez when he saw the pictures. But Sea of Thieves crossed 10 million players, which is a big milestone for the game. And then I saw some people say, "Is it a flop?" Which we're not really going to discuss here. But you said something interesting on Twitter that you said Sea of Thieves was the game that you wish you could like but can't.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I remember like the whole thing like when I was like starting out in games journalism, and Sea of Thieves was one of the first games that I was able to preview early and stuff. And I almost treated it like a leak where I thought like I wasn't getting the full picture, and I thought like there's got to be so much more to this game that they're not showing. But then when it came out, it was like, oh, that actually is the full game. And I just didn't get it, and I still kind of don't get it. Like there's no vertical progression. I think that's what it is for me more than anything. Your character doesn't grow. It's like it's like um it's like a sandbox game, and your character just doesn't grow, and I can't get past that. But like a lot of people on Twitter say to me like it depends who your crew is, and I get that because like I struggle to find people to play with because my schedule's so whack. I sleep at random times of the day. Like some people always say to me like, "Do you ever sleep?" And it's like, "Yeah, I do sleep, just randomly here and there." Like there's no fixed sleep, which makes it hard to find people to play online games with. And so I don't think even the most hardcore Sea of Thieves fan would deny that Sea of Thieves is not a great experience if you're playing solo. I'm sure there are people who like playing solo, but it's not only is it lonely, but it's like super risky and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. But yeah, it's the world is it's just so gorgeous, man. It just looks so gorgeous, and the idea of it, being a pirate, on the open seas in the gorgeous water systems and all that sort of stuff. I want to like it, but I just can't, and it depresses me kind of. Like, how do you feel about Sea of Thieves in 2020?
I mean, I think the game looks great. I went back and I played it. Did some of those tall tales, which are pretty interesting, but it's not my type of game whatsoever. Be like, maybe I'll try it out on the Series X if it gets updated to like 60 frames. But it's a game just is not for me.
That's fair enough. Games don't have to be for everyone. But for some like I said on Twitter, sometimes if a game isn't for me, I'll just let it go. I'll just let it slide. But for some reason, I just continue to be disappointed that I can't get into Sea of Thieves. It's really weird. So, I don't know. But 10 million players is like... Usually, if a game had 10 million players, you'd automatically think, this game has been a huge success story. But because of Game Pass, it kind of muddies that. Like how many of those players logged on for 5 minutes and then logged off? It's hard to really. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but it's less impressive to say a game had 10 million players when they can get really such easy access through Game Pass makes those announcements less impressive than previously. And also, we've also had like Killer Instinct announced similarly years ago, and we're not getting a sequel. So it's kind of like, well, yeah, you announce these things, but clearly they're no big deal because if a game is this successful, like you said, Killer Instinct was super successful, where's my sequel at? Where's my you didn't even do expansions and stuff anymore. So I don't know. 10 million players just isn't that impressive anymore for some reason.
People are calling out the PS4 Pro in the background going super loud. I've been trying to mute my mic, but apparently it's still picking it up. That's not a PS4 Pro. That is just a vacuum. And I'm surprised you guys can actually hear that because I can barely hear it. But yeah, it's it's just a vacuum cleaner going off right now. So I apologize. But hey, someone wants to get some cleaning done. You can't tell them not to, right? So moving on. let's talk about Xbox Series X. Or you know what? Let's talk about the PlayStation 5 logo stuff first, and then we'll get into the Xbox Series X stuff. So Sony went to CES. They had a regular conference. They talked a little bit about the PlayStation 4. They gave some updates on the sales and how well the platform's doing, which is doing incredibly well. 106 million PlayStation sold, like 103 monthly active users, 38 million PlayStation Plus users, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then they talked a little bit about the PlayStation 5. And wouldn't you know it, they revealed the logo. And it was done in such a straight manner, without any hint of, I don't know, like, I guess, to me, the whole, like, hey, in a very serious manner, we're going to reveal the logo, which everybody knew exactly what it was going to look like. I kind of was hoping Jim would just say maybe not exactly what you were hoping for, or just some bit of levity to the situation about revealing something people already knew that, hey, Colt Eastwood had as in his video 2 years ago or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, of course, it started coming on about, like, well, it was the most liked Instagram post for gaming ever, 5 million likes. And then people were comparing it to the Xbox Series X console reveal, the post on their Instagram, and it was like, well, look at this, and Xbox gonna get destroyed by PlayStation, and people were talking about YouTube likes and Instagram likes and MySpace likes and all that simple stuff, dumb stuff, really. But it does point to a like, I would say a fan base that is very, very, very eager for more PlayStation 5 news, that enjoyed their PlayStation 4 a lot. And this is like really the first time PlayStation is really talking about the PlayStation 5 in like an official manner. They've only done Wired articles. So I can understand why people are really excited. And like the casual gamer, like I don't really consider anybody watching or anybody like here that we do the podcast with, nobody's really a casual gamer. You're tuning into a podcast, you're hardcore, you play a lot of games, you listen to a lot of the news, you listen to like a lot of the YouTubers out there, and you're plugged in. You know that Sony's talked about Ultra SSDs and 3D binaural audio and all that stuff that they mentioned again. But the casual audience, the ones who maybe are just like, hey, what's going on Instagram, or the ones who play Fortnite, they don't know anything about a PlayStation 5. They don't watch any of this stuff. So to them, that's like the first official confirmation that PlayStation 5 is coming, and here are some of the features. And it just kind of shows like a fan base that's hungry for the next gen, even though there's a bunch of games coming out for PlayStation now, coming up still. I also kind of feel like Xbox and PlayStation are two different points. Like, and you can speak on this in just a minute, but like, PlayStation doesn't want to rock the boat in any way whatsoever. Why would they? They're dominating. Clearly the numbers show it, or at least they think they're dominating. It's like, why would you change anything? Why would you change what isn't broken? Why would you fix what isn't broken, right? So to them, it's like, we're just going to roll out this info. Here's the logo. Here's the reveal. They're in no real, there's no real like threat to them to reveal stuff at Microsoft's pace. They're like, we're going to do it the way that we planned it to. Xbox is a little bit different. Xbox didn't really have the best of generations. It was that whole DRM and launch, all that stuff is kind of hung as an albatross across the neck of the platform. And they needed to kind of spice things up, get people back on board, restore the faith in the brand, do things that are a little bit more aggressive. And that's exactly what they did. And I think both of those strategies, even though they're different, are working incredibly well. Like, you look at the Xbox Series X trailer on YouTube, it's got 9 million likes. It's pretty damn high, especially when we compare it to some like the Xbox One X one and stuff. So I feel like both of them are just doing what they needed to do, and people are reacting positively to both. It's just that like the really toxic few out there really like to pit one against the other and say, for Xbox to win, PlayStation has to lose. And for PlayStation to win, Xbox has to lose. When that really isn't the case whatsoever. So,
yep.
I don't know. That's kind of my whole... I find the whole thing just kind of funny. Like we're talking about a logo. Like I had a flashback, and I didn't use it in my video, of like Allen Iverson, who used to play for the 76ers, being like, we talking about practice? Really? Practice? Like that's what I feel like. We're talking about a logo. You know what I mean? Like a logo? Come on. But it is what passes for gaming news these days, and I'm not exempt from it. I made a video, and Hal made a video about Phil Spencer showing off the CPU chip, so I guess I'm much to blame for anybody else, for perpetuating all this stuff. But I don't know, Jez, what do you think about this whole PS5 logo drama?
I think, and honestly, part of this falls a little bit on Sony for saying like we're revealing the future or whatever at CES, and they didn't reveal anything. But like, it also shows that PlayStation is super mainstream. The fact that it gets like so much engagement on the basis of a logo, and far beyond what Xbox can do, it shows that like where PlayStation's audience is, it's global. It's global and it's mainstream. Whereas Xbox's audience is Anglo-centric and in the mainstream, and then it's niche in global terms. So, that's all that shows, really, more than anything. But it's like you said, like PlayStation doesn't need to lose for Xbox to have a healthy business, and vice versa. It like both can thrive, and that's fine. That is fine.
Yeah.
Is that weird? Is that
Is
that such a hard concept to grasp?
Well, for some people that thrive on pitting both of them against each other every single day, yeah, that's a incredibly hard concept to wrap your head around when you're like,
you know what? I blame Zuckerberg for this.
Zuckerberg, right? Fake news?
Yeah. No, well, that, but like algorithms which are determined by likes and dislikes. Like everything has to be a dichotomy now. You have to be one extreme or the other. You can't. There's no compromise. If you're not like extreme one way, you're cancelled, man. You get cancelled.
Oh, the cancel culture,
extreme. Huh? You have to be extreme on either end of the spectrum. In everything, you can't be in the middle because the algorithms don't like being in the middle because that's nuanced, and computers don't get nuance, and you can't get clicks with nuance. You have to be extreme one way or the other. So that's just the way internet's changing perception, over time. And it's sad because nuance gets lost. And nuance is important, Rand. And we're not immune to it either, But it is what it is. You just got to try and resist the urge to be on the extreme end. Now, only a Sith deals in absolutes, Obi-Wan said.
I don't know. The extreme end is never a place like I don't know. I guess I just don't have the character to do the extreme. Like PlayStation 5 is amazing and Xbox is gonna die, or Xbox is great and Sony's just pure trash. Like that's not my character. That's not how I think. I sure, yeah. Being on the extremes is probably great for stuff. Like as you see, there's a lot of YouTubers out there, not even like gaming YouTubers, but ones who deal in like. I don't even want to mention their names, but like who deal with like Star Wars stuff, but then talk about like who's this one YouTuber with the beard that got incredibly popular? I forget his name, but yeah, like negativity really like sells. you gotta be like a fan or big extreme fan to get any traction, and it's tough. Like I always try to look at things from a logical perspective. So it's like, to me, it's like PlayStation, like why would they rush to reveal their stuff? They'll do it on their own time. They have a whole bunch of games they still need to sell. Xbox is the one that's like, all right, we need to change things up. We need to have people to look at us differently than they did this generation. They're coming from behind, just like PlayStation was coming from behind during the 360 era, right? They needed to spice things up, and they did. So it's like, that's what happens. Nintendo, with the failure of the Wii U, needed to go to change things up. And they come out with the Switch. So it's like, that's what happens. Like, the leader is just like, we're just going to focus on us and what we think is working. We're not going to make any waves. But everybody else does because they want to regain that position. But I got to shout out Snazzy Crowd for the Super Chat. He says, PS5, simple, elegant, classy Sony. And we got another one here. from Beaner8127. Bieber is a chart topper, quality over popularity. I mean, I guess that's always a discussion. Like, is something popular? Does that mean it's quality? I mean, it can be both. Something can be popular and also be really good, but just because something is popular doesn't actually mean it's good, So there is that kind of discussion going on with that. But with that said, so now that we know what the logo looks like from the PlayStation 5, the next step is to reveal the console and some of the games. When do you think that's going to happen, Jez? The common thought is that Sony will do it in February. Do you think that is going to happen? Do you think sometime in February we'll have a PlayStation meeting in New York? Sony will show off the console and the games that might go with it before E3?
Yeah, I think they'll do it before E3. I mean, really, you've got to do it before GDC because that's when they're going to be briefing game developers on it. That's when leaks will happen. You might as well get ahead of the leaks and just, do a deep dive yourself. I know that Microsoft's going to be doing something similar, deep dive at some point, probably with Digital Foundry. I wouldn't be surprised if it's with Digital Foundry again, like it was last time with the X. Because, if the product's good, why not expose it to the independent press and let them check it out and stuff? And, they can report back and say, yeah, it's good, and it's more real when it comes from a third party. Like if Microsoft's saying it's good, then of course they're going to say it's good because it's their console. But if a third party saying it's good, then it adds a little bit more credibility. So yeah, I think both Sony and Microsoft will give a full-blown deep dive in their respective systems in the near future. It's kind of obvious, right?
Yeah, I think that both will happen. Shout out to Deck Captain James for the super chats. This is why you're the best friend. You're by far the most rational dude in this community. I appreciate that. I mean, like, look, I've always said, I mean, this podcast is called the Xbox 2 for a reason. I cover mostly Xbox news 90% of the time. My preference, I wear it on my sleeve. I got a million gamer score, like 1.27 million now. I undoubtedly prefer Xbox. I play everything on the Xbox. But I don't hate PlayStation. I look forward to a lot of their games. I've enjoyed a lot of their exclusives this generation. I'm buying both systems at launch. I'm just really excited about what Microsoft has what they've set themselves up to do for the future. I still have that video coming out that I'm going to talk about why I'm so excited. But yeah, like, I don't know. I just look at this and it's just like, people can overreact. And sure, maybe overreactions get the clicks. People like screaming at how Xbox failed and all this stuff, but like, I don't know, like they did exactly what I wanted them to do, so like I'm cool like with it all. If 4 years from now or 3 years from now, like Xbox Studios is still putting out trash, well then yeah, I'm gonna be like, well, you know what? I gave them a chance. They screwed up. Like see you later, basically. You know what I mean? But yeah, it is what it is. Like I just that's who I am. And that's who I'll be. You won't ever see me selling out on YouTube and pandering for an audience. Like that's just not going to happen. But moving on to the Series X stuff, Jazz, you've seen it. You've seen the system with your own very two eyes.
I have.
What did it look like? Tell me everything, Jazz.
It looked just like the renders of the put out. It looks like you'd expect, but like, damn it! I was about 12 hours late. Brad Sams, because AMD posted their fake render with the conceptual ports on the back, and then Microsoft had to release a statement saying, "Oh no, those aren't the ports," because it had HDMI in, which we talked about before on the podcast, and I wrote up that I'd heard the HDMI in was removed, and so that was a surprise to me that the HDMI in was still there. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm glad that rumor was wrong. But then Microsoft put out that statement, and then Brad Sams over at Throt.com, shout out to Brad, he put these are the real ports on the back, and HDMI in was gone, and then later on I got lucky and got to see some footage of the Xbox Series X myself, and yeah, the ports look exactly as Brad described it in his article. So no HDMI in. it doesn't look like there's an IR blaster either. So for those of us now, it's important to note that things can change, and that the ports that I saw and Brad Sam saw, um, they definitely aren't going to be on the production unit because they have what's called a facet port, which is used for debugging. Um, and stuff like that, because they're still like in production units, and testers and engineers presumably are using them for that sort of purpose. So obviously the debugging port isn't going to be there on the final model, so that makes you think, well, could the IR blaster and HDMI in be there as well on the final version? There's a slim hope of it, but I personally think the HDMI in is not going to be there, which kind of sucks. Like, and if you don't know, the HDMI import lets you feed live TV through your Xbox, and then you can control the live TV using the IR blaster on the Xbox. So you can change channels using your Xbox, and you can switch from live TV to your games instantly and stuff like that. And like back in the day, you could even do like snap mode where you could watch live TV at the same time as playing a game, which we unfortunately lost that feature because nobody was using it. But apparently nobody's using the HDMI import either, really. I used to use it back in 2013 when the Xbox launched, when I could control the TV with Kinect and stuff like that. But over the years, Kinect died. Over the years, I stopped using live TV completely because of the rise of Netflix and stuff like that. A lot of people are just cord cutting now. People don't really watch TV the same way they used to. So Microsoft are probably just sort of like following the trends and being like, yeah, everyone's cord cutting. We can get better margins or lower the costs if we get rid of the second HDMI. Yeah, it's not going to be a huge amount, but it's still something. And also the IR blaster. Maybe most people aren't really using that. I think the, the truth is probably most people don't even know that it exists, because it's not like it tells you when you're setting up your Xbox, oh, by the way, you can use your IR blaster to control your TV. A lot of people just don't know that, especially like from the mainstream audiences. So it is what it is. But at least we sort of have an idea what the ports could be now, once and for all. And I have actually reached out to Microsoft to see if they would confirm those ports or comment or tell us whether or not they'll be on the final production model and stuff like that. But they haven't got back to me, and I guess they don't want to talk about the rumors and stuff like that, I guess. But there it is.
So is there a possibility that the ports will change? Like they'll add an HDMI in and the retail unit, or they'll change the USB A's into USB C's? Because I did see people that like, and I get. Well, I guess we need to backtrack, Jazz. We need to kind of set up why this all happened in the first place. It was during AMD's press conference where they revealed a 3D logo of Xbox Series X with the ports. And then quickly thereafter, Microsoft issued a statement basically saying that that didn't come from them. And
Yeah.
AMD admitted that someone bought a 3D render from TurboSquid and used it. So my first thought was AMD's working on Xbox with the system, and they just go to some fan website to buy a render without talking to Microsoft about this. Because when they mentioned the PlayStation 5, it was a box and it just had the logo on it. It was like nothing. But when they talked about the Xbox Series X, it had this 3D spinning logo, and I'm like, who thought that was a good idea? And did nobody in a high level position like watch that and think to themselves, hey, maybe we should see if Microsoft's okay with us revealing what's on the back of the console? Like, it kind of blows my mind with how all that stuff actually happened, right?
Yeah, that was really strange. But that's CES. It's just kind of messy and rushed. Like if you watch all the other keynote speeches, it's nowhere near as polished as like E3 is. And like and stuff like that. I don't know why, but it just isn't. Like all the press conferences are a little bit weird, a little bit cringy almost a lot of the time. Um that's just CES for whatever reason. Um but yeah, I did talk about how we got here, and like the possibility. I did talk about like the possibility of HDMI in coming back on the production units, but I also like heard that not a lot of people were using it. And if Microsoft can improve their margins by removing that stuff, then they'll do it. But for those of us who have been using it, it does kind of suck. But at the same time, if not a lot of people are using it, then why would they bother adding, extra costs and reduce margins for that, for the sake of it, So
Yeah, I mean, nobody used the HDMI in. I know people will say they'll miss it just like they missed the snap feature. Like I get it. It USB
it's just the
C.
hardcore users used. Like people on this podcast might have been using it, but the problem is like the normies, most people don't even know it exists probably, and that like the IR Blaster 2, I was saying, like they don't even know the IR Blaster exists. So it is what it is. But also it might actually end up on the final unit because obviously we're not going to get a debug port on the final unit. So we'll
Right.
just
So
have to
the
wait
so
and
the
see.
other so the other port. Some people were speculating it could be like an NVMe port where you slide in an SSD or something. But you think it's more of a diagnostic port, right?
Yeah, so I was told that it's what's called a facet port, and it's used for debugging. Now, and I was also told that the slot isn't deep enough to house uh an NVMe drive, if that's the right acronym. It's not deep enough to house a drive. It'd be sticking out the back and look really ugly. So if it was some kind of serial ATA port, it would have to like use a cable or something um to connect the drive. But I doubt it. I really do doubt it. And it kind of sucks though, because if it does have USB-A ports, that means like your external hard drives are going to be significantly slower than the internal drives. So if you've got a game stored on the external drive, the load times are going to be like what they are today, rather than like the seconds worth of load times that you get on the 2 GB read speed SSD that's going to ship with this thing.
Well, that's what I was a little bit worried about because if they're USB A, and I think did you say they were 3.1, like the faster USB threes?
I don't know, but I would hope so. I think Brad Sams said that they're super speed USB.
Right, and even still, it's like at that point, it's like, man, I wonder, like, because I have a 1 TB SSD Samsung, and I have a 4 TB, like Seagate regular mechanical drive. But
Mm.
obviously, one of the things I'm looking forward to the most about next generation, outside of like, hey, yeah, the games look better, there might be a better chance they run at 60 frames, is like both Microsoft and especially Sony have talked literally about eliminating load times forever. Like 1 second, 2 second, you're in the game. But my fear was like, well, if they're USB A ports and I play a lot of games, do I just download them to my hard drive? Like, is it worth having the SSD, or should I just have bulk storage and then whatever games I'm playing, I just put on the internal? Because that's where I'm going to get the best, the fastest load times. And if I have it on an external, then I'm not really getting like decrease in load times. I wonder how different the implementations are on both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X in that. That is definitely pretty curious. Like, cause that's that. I mean, think about it. Every time you start a game, like the big games, like there's always like a big load to get into a game. And I remember when I started Metro Exodus, I think I timed it. It was like a good 2 minutes. It's like, man, this is taking forever. But like I'm just like looking and I'm just like, man, it would be so great if you just started up and it was just instantaneous. Start the game and start playing. Like how much it like is on the Nintendo Switch because they're cartridges. You just start the game up and you're instantly going. That would save a lot of time in the future, So we'll have to see how that pans out. But the specs, Jez, Xbox Series X specs. The reason I put it here is obviously there's a lot of people talking about it, right? People making videos. There's a 12.19 teraflops. There's 11.3 teraflops. What's PlayStation's? Is it 9.2? Is it 10? Is it 11? A lot of going back and forth about what the specs are. But David Preen on Twitter, who is I think he's the senior director of hardware at Xbox. He's working on Project Scarlet. He has an interesting question, which I wanted to ask you, and we're going to talk about, and everybody in chat can actually give their own answers. He asked, serious question, not looking for toxicity or box wars. And I know it's like I don't want to hear all this fanboy stuff, but when you ask a question like this, you're gonna get some of it surely. Why do people want to know specs of anything so far in advance? Will it change what you buy since it will be same day of launch? To me, it's like movie spoilers. I don't want to know until I buy my movie ticket. So that got me to thinking. Why do a lot of people want to know the specs? Like, sure, like I'll make videos about it, talking about it. I'm not a tech guy, so I don't really know any of the stuff. But I know like people want to hear about it. They want to know how powerful these systems are. But he brings up an interesting question, like what does it really matter a year out from the systems, a year and a half out, or what they're targeting? And what was your response to him, Jez?
Well, I said I have a vested interest in getting the specs early because you give exclusives to IGN and stuff like that, and I have to compete with these people. So that's why I want to know the specs early. But like, if I wasn't working in the industry, I honestly wouldn't really care about learning the specs early. I think like the only reason a lot of YouTubers want to know the specs, honestly, is because it's the console war, which is more powerful and stuff like that, and that creates discourse, which creates clicks, which means we can make podcasts like this.
Right. I mean, Delilah says you simply want to know what you're getting and if it's worth saving up for. I did see some people respond to David saying, "Hey, I want to know what it's targeting. These systems are going to be $500, $400. I don't really have that kind of money to burn right away, but if I can plan on it and I can save it over the course of time, that gives me some chance to do so." Clearly,
yeah, that's the other aspect. Like, the other aspect is some people just love tech. I know I'm someone who loves tech. I like hearing about what specs the new Dell XPS 13 has. Have you seen the new Dell XPS 13? It's so damn thin. It's like the thinnest laptop I've ever seen in my life, and the bezels are like 3mm or something ridiculous. And it's funny because it's kind of dumb how like the fact that they've shaved a few millimeters off the bezel is so interesting to me. But it's just part of the hobby. It's part of being a techie, It's like, oh my god, I can't believe Dell's got the bezel so damn thin on this monitor. It's on this display panel. It's just part of the hobby. And I think for a lot of techies who are into this stuff, they do want to know the specs, and they do want to be into because the engineering is exciting. Like, see, it's like when they posted the SOCs on Twitter of the Scarlet engine, like seeing that like little slab with all its little power caps on it, that's interesting to me. It's interesting to a lot of other people. So I think there's that aspect too. I don't think there's any real wrong answer. It's just kind of fun. For me, it's part of the hobby,
Well, there's definitely people that platform war that will definitely want to know the information so they can throw it back in the other person's face, like, my system's more powerful than your system. That's been going on since the Sega and Nintendo days. Like, that is definitely an aspect. Some people compared it to buying a car, like wanting to know what the specs or the horsepower of a Ferrari is, like what it can do in 0 to 60 and things of that nature. So there's a bunch of different responses to that thread, which I thought was interesting. And considering he's working on it, I thought it was like, whoa, he's posting this. This is definitely, and I've seen some people say, well, if he's posting that means that it's got to be definitely weaker than the PlayStation 5, because why else would he say it? So now people are even spinning it along that axis, which is very, very weird to me.
That's funny.
But yeah, like, people want to take all the information that they're presented and obviously twist it to whatever advantage that they can do. Like, personally, am I interested in the specs? I mean, to a certain degree, sure. I'm interested in seeing like how powerful the system is, because Xbox is going to be the platform I'm going to play on regardless. So, would it matter to me if PlayStation 5 is more powerful? No, not really. I mean, I chose the Xbox One this gen, and I still, even though I think from Microsoft's first party perspective it was a down gen, I mean, I enjoyed this gen quite a bit, even though some of the games were in 720p. And some of them were in, worse resolutions than the PlayStation 4. It really didn't affect me that much. I wasn't really thinking about that. Like the frame rate stuff bothers me more than the resolution stuff. So, like, yeah, I'm curious to see for sure, and it's also one of the things that I know other people are interested in, and they want to hear about. So it's like they want to know. So it's like you write articles like this is what it is because other people are interested in hearing about it. So sometimes you gotta like make that content and talk about it because people will be interested in it. Shout out to Basement Radio Arcade Podcast Enrique with the $2 super chat. Says, great show, Randon Jez. Cheers. Thanks, buddy. And he asked, Jez, will you be at E3 this year? Of course he'll be there. Right, Jez?
Damn right.
You'll be at E3. Right. He's got a lot to do, a lot to cover with the new console launch, new games, and everything. But Jez, there's this other rumor we wanted to talk briefly about, and I think somebody asked me in the chat, is Xbox Series X getting full Windows on the system, meaning that you'll be able to play your Steam and Epic games on the Series X? Full Windows. Windows 10. They have a Windows mode and an Xbox mode, and you can switch back and forth. Baby, I can run Windows, and that means I can get my Steam games, and I can play it on my Xbox. Is that happening? Because I see people talking about it.
It's not happening. It's never happening.
It's not happening. It's not happening. It's never happening.
It's, well, if it is happening, they've managed to silo that information really well. And that's the kind of thing they wouldn't be able to silo very well because they'll be working with partners on it. And partners are leaky. And not only that, like, there's no evidence. There isn't a shred of evidence at a platform level that that's a thing that's even being considered. So if that happens, I will be shocked. Not only shocked, I don't know. I'll eat my Gengar plush toy if it happens. I'm that convinced it's not going to happen. So yeah, it's not happening. Don't even entertain that clickbait.
Don't even entertain that idea. Okay. Fair enough. Figured we'd have to talk about that. What else we got here? Mike Ibarra.
Oh, okay.
Mike Ibarra back in the news, Jez.
Poor Mike.
Poor Mike. It seems like everything he tweets ends up as some story and ends up as a story against his former employer. We had last week where we were talking about his comments along the lines of like, hey, God, what did he tweet last week? Now everything's like running in together. Like he tweets so much. Oh, he talked about how he hoped that they were, making AAA games or more AAA games, not just AA average experiences. And then this week he tweeted, he replied to Kid Smooth, and Kid Smooth asked, like, what are you going to buy? And Mike, being a PC guy, he's always been a PC guy, says, well, I'm going to get a PlayStation 5, and I'm going to get a PC. I'm going to stay with PC because Xbox exclusives are on PC, and that's my choice. Whoo, boy. Man, did the PlayStation websites run with that one, because I saw the headlines as soon as Mike tweeted it out. Former Xbox executive chooses PlayStation 5 over Xbox Series X. And did it get some traction? And then you can see they're sitting there with Mike, like with his hand in his head, is being like, listen, if PlayStation 5 also put their exclusives on PC, I'd play them there. I want everything on PC because I'm a PC guy. Like, it's just...
like, if you've been following Mike for any length of time, like on his Mixer streams and stuff like that, he always streams from PC. Like, he's a PC guy. He's got like a crazy huge curved monitor. Like all those PC features which you just can't get on Xbox because it's a contained experience. And he worked on the strategy to bring, Xbox games to PC. Yeah. And I'll say something, Rand. Everyone mocks the Windows Store. But thanks to Xbox Game Pass for PC, it's actually starting to look pretty okay. Like, it's actually started... Like, this is something no one would have ever expected. The Windows Store having good games in it. Well, because of Xbox Game Pass for PC, it's slowly but surely starting to actually get decent content. Like, when you look at the PC store on Windows 10 now, it actually looks fairly presentable.
Fairly presentable. Well, it's definitely a better position than it used to be in.
It's better. It's
Yeah.
moving in the right direction, and that's all Mike. That's Mike's work and Phil's work, you know. And it's not a case of because they think Xbox is bad. It's a case of they have a responsibility to the Windows platform, being the company that owns the Windows platform. And Mike's always been a PC guy. Like, if you've got the money and you don't mind to put up with the idiosyncrasies of PC, like I could afford to buy a really powerful rig. I've got RTX 2060 Razer Blade, which like ain't a terrible gaming PC by any stretch of the imagination. But I still game mostly on Xbox because I prefer to have my PC separate from my games a lot of the time because I multitask. And Windows isn't great at multitasking when you've got a game running. Like a lot of games struggle to minimize properly and like switch between windows and like switch between monitors. Like it's a nightmare, you know. So it's just for me as someone who multitasks a lot on Windows and uses Windows for work, it's often just easier to play a lot of games on Xbox and then keep my PC open for Discord, Slack, and stuff like that. There are some games that handle multitasking really well. Like that's one of the new Windows APIs. Like lets developers have their games running in a more scalable window mode and stuff like that. But a lot of games don't use it properly. And like some games even just crash if you try minimizing them, or they'll just close and stuff like that. So if you don't want to deal with the pain of that of Windows, and it's not PC's fault necessarily, it's Windows' and developers for not leveraging those new APIs properly. You can just game on console. It's often just easier. And if you don't mind that, then game on PC, you know. But that's the fact that Microsoft offers people the choice of where they want to play. It's a positive. It's not a negative. It's a positive, and it's always been a positive. But you know, it can be spun into a console war thing if you have that mindset, you know.
Well, it's
And
it's it's also definitely like really incredibly good clickbait. Like
yeah.
because that was the first
Oh
thing I
yeah.
thought of
Super.
was like, oh man, the headlines, like former Xbox executive chooses PlayStation over next Xbox. Like that'd get people to click, right?
And it did.
And it sure did. And then he even went on to explain that how like the console, like the whole console section, and what it's not the same as it was 15 years ago. How it's more beneficial for Microsoft for him to be a Game Pass PC customer than actually buy the console. All that stuff, like all the stuff that we've been saying on the podcast, he's basically telling people, schooling them. You know, the ones that were trying to tell Mike how the console business worked. You know, like, hey, no, this is how it works. And Mike's like, no, like you don't know anything. Like what? So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I did see WCCF Tech, like they deleted their tweet because I think they were the ones the first kind of like run that story, and go after that.
That was funny. Like I know some of the guys that are on that site, and they're not bad guys. You know, it's not like they sat there thinking, oh, we can spin this into a clickbait and stuff like that. But I think like it was sort of like ill advised and sort of like they probably just didn't know what Mike's shtick is, I guess. And also, like, if you're taking what Mike says purely at face value, then it can seem like he's saying that. But like a lot of us who know Mike and they know how he thinks about these things, then it's not. He wasn't being anti-Xbox per se.
We got a super
But
chat from
it
David
is what it
Oliver
is.
says, "Have you seen the leaked Infinite concept videos?" I mean, someone DM'd me, but we've been doing the podcast, so I don't know if it's real or not. So, let us know in the chat if you've seen this apparent leaked Halo Infinite Xbox Series X footage, and if it's actually real and what people are saying about it. Because I don't know, I haven't watched it for myself. Do you know what they're talking about, Jez?
I have no idea.
Yeah, someone
No
DM'd
idea.
me like 30 minutes ago and said, "Is this real?" And I haven't been able to watch it yet. So let us know in the chat if it's something that we should talk about, if it's something that we both should watch right now and be like, "Yeah, this is legit. This is what Xbox Series X and Halo Infinite looks like." A Squad Gaming, Dealer talks about this guy all the time. Runs a Ghost Recon channel and the Call of Duty channel. I've actually watched some of his videos. He's really good at what he does. I appreciate the super chat, brother. He says, I love my gaming PC, but I prefer to play games on Xbox. Super pumped for Series X. Keep up the great work, guys. Thanks for the support. And Zatanna Bathory, sorry if I screwed up your name, think all OG 360 Legacy library will come to Game Pass. That's interesting, Jez. So with Game Pass, do you think, in my opinion, I think they should focus more on current gen games and less on original Xbox 360 games, and even kind of move away from Xbox One. Like, I think with games, I think people want new games. I think that is what the draw is. Sure, with Netflix, like, people love Friends and people love The Office and people love that old stuff because, TV and video games are a little bit different. But in my opinion, I think some of the value of Game Pass, especially when you compare it to PlayStation Now, is that Game Pass tends to put way more current titles and new titles into its service way more than the other, which is why I think it has a better value. So, do you agree with Zatanna here? Do you think that they should put more OG Xbox games and 360 games in the service, or do you agree with me saying that they should focus more on like current gen titles?
Well, it could just be redundant, because it could just be a case of those licenses ain't gonna stretch that far. It's funny. Like, I was browsing Xbox Game Pass earlier, I noticed that Epic Mickey 2 was in there, and I thought, well, that's random, But I suppose what he's saying is, like, he's comparing it to Nintendo Online, right? So, like, if you pay for Nintendo Online, which is a terrible service, like, it's garbage. Like, there's no messages, there's no voice chat. It's terrible. It's a joke. But I guess Nintendo has to start somewhere. Like, it literally has less features than OG Xbox Live from back in the day. But on the plus side, you do get access to a ton of NES and SNES games, or what do you call it, SNES in America, right?
Yeah. I'm listening.
SNES. You call it SNES in America,
right?
What is the deal with that?
I have no idea. You tell me.
Like, you call it the NES and then the SNES.
I've always called it the NES, and I've always called the other one SNES. I don't know who calls it NES or SNES, maybe, but I'm not that much of a Nintendo fan, so I always called it NES.
In the UK, well, I've heard Americans call it the SNES, but in the UK we called it the NES and the SNES.
Okay.
Which is phonetic, I guess, but you do get those games on Nintendo Online. So I suppose, like, in the same vein, people are wondering, should you get those games on Game Pass? I definitely think, like, at least Microsoft's first party backwards compatible games should be on there. But I don't know if they should spend the money to get the licenses for the third party stuff, because I think that money could probably be better spent elsewhere on more recent content. But if Microsoft doesn't have to pay for the licenses and they have their old games, and a lot of them are probably already on there anyway, I think, yeah, their old games should be on there, but maybe the licenses would be better spent elsewhere.
See, I don't know. Like, I maybe it's because it's the way I am. I want new games, and I think new games kind of power Game Pass. I think you should get rid of the older games. But maybe I'm wrong on this one. Maybe I'm projecting my own what's the word I'm looking for here, Jez? My own preferences onto what I think Microsoft should be doing. And I'm sure Microsoft has a whole bunch of data saying what I just look at some of the Game Pass offerings and I'm like, who is really playing the OG version of Ninja Gaiden? Like, is that really a useful spot? Maybe it doesn't cost a lot of money to have it in there or whatever, but it's like, is anybody really playing that? And is that spot or better used for a newer game or something? Maybe it is. Maybe people are like, oh man, OG Ninja Gaiden, 4K on the X, whatever might run in Series X, I'm going to actually play that. But I don't know. Like, I have a feeling like with gaming, people want new stuff. They want newer games to play, not old games. But that's just me. And I've always been the one that said, like, backwards compatibility, love that it's there. Love it that people actually, that want it, get to use it. I think it's great that both PlayStation and Microsoft are focusing heavily on it, on Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. Like, the idea of Xbox Series X being compatible with like every, gen is something really great, right? It's just not for me. It's just not something I will use. So I try to like not put my own personal preference into talking about, well, I'm not going to come out and say they shouldn't do backwards compatibility because Randall Ford doesn't want it. Clearly, plenty of people do, and I think there's value in having all the generations on a system. But I do think Game Pass is a little bit different thing. And I see Delilah says that she's playing Ninja Gate and she loves it. And it's great. So that's why like I wouldn't, but I'm sure people at Microsoft are looking at it. Like how many people are playing the new games on Game Pass versus how many people are playing the older 360 games? Like is there anybody really playing Banjo-Kazooie? Xbox 360 like
you
version,
just hate Banjo.
I mean?
Admit it. You just hate Banjo. This whole segment is an excuse for you to bash Banjo. Admit it, Brand. I know your game. You jig is up, man.
My jiggy's up. My jiggy's up. Yeah, I guess so. Shout out to Sin Vendetta. He says, "Jez, us Americans spell it out. N period E period S period or S period N period E."
SNES.
Yeah, SNES.
I swear I've heard Americans call it the SNES.
The SNES.
Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know.
Yeah. So I saw that we had 765 here just a minute ago. We appreciate everybody watching. If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you hit the like button. Me and Jez really both appreciate the support. Phil Spencer also had something to say. Well, he actually didn't say anything, but they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I guess you could say he kind of one-upped. Well, maybe not one-up, but he showed off the Xbox Series X system on a chip, the CPU and all that stuff, the day of CES, Jez. And clearly it had to be because he knew the PlayStation 5 was about well, he knew something PlayStation. Like, I doubt he was like, well, they're going to reveal the logo, so I better reveal the chip, right? So what do you think about that? Do you think that's just like another segment of their marketing? Here we're talking about Xbox Series X revealed at VGAs. They want to keep it going. Here's the chip and what it looks like, so people are talking about it. Do you think that's working? Even though it's a retread from the Xbox One X, where Aaron Greenberg and Major Nelson were eating the chips in their pictures. What do you think about how they're going about that?
I don't think it was overly planned.
You don't think it was overly planned?
Personally, could be wrong. I could be really naive, but it didn't seem like such a big deal. It's not like I got a press release saying Phil Spencer changed his profile picture. It's just one of those things.
So it's just one of those things. You don't think it has anything to do with marketing to get people talking about it? I mean, clearly Digital Foundry did a video about it. I mean, I did a video about it too, but whatever. I'm a nobody.
Well, I guess.
I mean, Digital Foundry was like trying to like determine what you could learn from that chip.
We've done 3D models for the Xbox Series X. By the way, thanks for the support on that to everyone who shared it and stuff like that. Because clearly people like those 3D models. We're actually going to try and do a 3D model of the chip as well because people like it. So maybe they just shared it because people like it. I don't know. I don't think he said anything that's major. I saw one article describe it as a Phil Spencer flexes on PlayStation by showing off the system of chip for the Scarlet engine. I
did see.
I tell you what was most interesting to me was the fact that like they put 8K on there like a statement, and I was thinking like, should you really be doing that when really we're not going to see many 8K games at least for a while?
Okay, let me play devil's advocate here. I kind of agree with you, and I think that's what Mike Ibarra was talking about when he tweeted, under promise and over deliver rather than over promise and under deliver, because it came right after Phil's tweet with the 8K. Well, let me ask you this, Jez. Who's gonna be looking at the chip when they play the game or when they get their system? Does it matter what's inscribed on the chip?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's funny actually. My girlfriend my girlfriend dabbles in games, but she's not like a huge gamer or anything. But she said I like how they made it attractive, you know. And I thought like that's a good point. You know, it kind of shows that the engineers take some pride in their work, and the fact they put like a little Master Chief on the motherboard in the old Xbox and stuff like that, and the riding the Scorpion. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of like it shows that they take some pride in their work and they can have a little bit of fun and stuff like that. I like that. Um, but you know, it's like you say, is anyone going to be looking at the chip when they're playing? Not really.
Yeah, I mean, I get why it's there. I do understand. Like, clearly, that's what Ibarra was tweeting about because people are like, "What does he say? What does this mean?" I'm like, clearly, it's about the chip. It's about the 8K on there because we both think there's not gonna be any 8K games. Oh, here's my phone ringing, probably saying, "No, Rand, there will be 8K games."
Man, who keeps phoning you, man? You are so popular. I bet it's like loads of girls. All Rand's girlfriends and side chicks.
Yeah, I wish that was the case. I wish I was just so popular with the ladies that I was fending them off with the stick. I wish that was actually true.
I get loads of calls from robots trying to.
Yeah, it's all just.
They call me up and they're like, "We've heard you've been in a car accident recently, and do you want to help claiming insurance and stuff like that or something?"
I get emails sometimes. It was like, "Your social security number is under investigation for fraud. Please respond to us." And it's like, okay, like what? Like, excuse. So what's my social security number? Like the things people fall for. But yeah, like the calls are nothing. It's just
sometimes when I'm bored, like I'll reply and say I'll say yes to the robot, and then instantly you get human, and they start talking to you like, "Oh, what happened to your accident?" and stuff like that, and I'll say like, "Oh man, like I was trampled by an elephant, and it totally destroyed my car, broke both my legs," and like they just hang up, you know. It's like sometimes when I'm bored, bro.
Gotta give a shout out to Gordon Redsdick. He says, "I was late tuning in today, but I had to tell you guys that I really enjoy listening to you two every week. Jez, get that sleep cycle under control." Thank you. And yeah, Jez, get that sleep cycle under control. I finally got mine under control. My back, remember I told you my back killed me on Christmas Day. Like, it gave me so much problems. It hurt. And then on New Year's Eve, I did a podcast with Mr. Boomstick. My back was killing me. Ever since then, perfectly fine. Like nothing happened. It was just killed one day, and then the next week it's been perfectly fine. So I really must have just like pulled a muscle in my back or slept on it wrong or something.
Just being an old man, dude.
I'm not that old. You know, I'm not that old.
Getting on a bit.
Yeah.
What are you? 42?
I'm not in my 40s. What are you talking about? I mean,
I always give Roby stick about his age. I'm sorry, Roby. I shouldn't do that. Like, I turned 33 last year, and like 34 this year. Like, it's getting scarily close to 40. How do you cope, Rand? How do you cope?
I don't know. I don't really think about it, man. I don't really think about it at all. I don't want to. I mean, it's like I've been through so much. Like, I don't know, like gaming. It's like my first system. Actually, my first system wasn't even an NES. It was like I had a ColecoVision and I had an Atari. But I've been through so many of these systems. And yeah, some of them I don't particularly remember very well. Like, I don't remember ColecoVision or the Atari. And I have some memories of the NES, but not that many. I have some memories of the Genesis, but not a lot. But what I do remember a lot was the PlayStation 2 era. And I've seen a lot of people get like testy with each other lately, especially on Twitter, on YouTube. And I know it's because we're on that verge of new consoles. And for whatever reason, they get short with each other because of this. It happened in 2012, going into 2013 with the 360 and the PS3. People just really get angry with each other, especially like you're a 360 guy, PlayStation guy, like you don't get along. It's happening again. It's like history repeating itself. Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5. We're on that verge. We're, presumably 10 months away from new systems. And you can already tell just from PlayStation talking about the logo and the Series X reveal that people are getting angry at each other. And it's like, It's kind of crazy to me, Jez. I mean, maybe I understood a little bit more when I was younger, but now that I'm older and I've been through this all, yeah, I don't know. It's just, like I said earlier in the podcast, I was in a party with Kid Smooth. He tweeted it out, and a lot of the replies are just like, "You stupid Xbox, you ain't gonna do nothing. The Xbox is trash. PlayStation 5 forever." And it's a whole bunch of these comments, literally taking a joke that he tweeted and being super serious. And it's just, I read that stuff and I'm like, all right, you know what? I don't block a lot of people on Twitter, Jazz. I have like 4 people blocked, but I do mute, and I do mute quite a bit. I went through that list and I'm like, muted, 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 muted. I never want to see what you have to say ever again because of how ridiculous you sound right now. Mute, 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 mute. You know, like, ugh. I don't know what it is.
I do a lot of blocking.
You do a lot of blocking. I know, people do a lot of blocking.
Not only do I not want to know what you have to say, I also don't think you have the privilege of knowing what I have to say.
Ooh. Well, that's the thing. So if someone blocks me, I'll block them back. You know what I mean? There's a couple people on here that that said some things that blocked me, and I'm like, well, if he blocked me, I don't want him to see what I'm saying, so I block him back. I got like 4 people on here blocked for that reason. But for everybody else, I just mute them, and it's just great. The only time I see people is when people I follow, like Sean LeBrie, he'll retweet stuff or reply to people, and I'm like, Sean, I love you, man, but I could have lived my whole life without seeing what said person is saying to you. But he does it all the time, every day. Like, what's going on Twitter? Sean LeBrie with hot dog gifs. I'm like, who's he replying to? And I scroll up, I'm like, oh, Sean. Save me, Sean. Like, stop doing that, Sean. Come on.
I say it to Tim Dog all the time about this too. I was like, why do you have to quote tweet? Because then I have to see what they're saying too. And then I have to block them. And then it's like annoying when I see like him quote tweet someone and then it's just blank in my feed because I've already blocked them. Like, just reply. I don't want to see all the drama, man. But you're right. It's getting heated out there. Like, I've blocked literally every fanboy on Twitter, so I don't see a lot of it. But I don't know. The last console cycle, I wasn't really aware of any of this stuff because I barely played on my 360. I was like mostly on PC playing World of Warcraft during that era. I played like Dragon Age and like some of the heavy hitters, but I missed so many games from the 360 era because of World of Warcraft. So I didn't really have any notion of what the console war was really like. The console war mean streets. I wasn't there around.
Okay.
I wasn't there. So this is all new to me. This sort of console transition to a new gen online.
Were you writing for? Had you started your blog back when the Xbox One started yet?
I started blogging a few months. Actually, it was do you remember Boogie, that YouTuber guy?
Yeah, Boogie 2998 or whatever.
Yeah. He released his video attacking the Xbox One, and it was full of misinformation. And I was like, man, someone needs to put this guy straight. So I made a Twitter account, and I started tweeting like everything that was wrong with his video. Like, I'd never bothered doing anything like that before. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start a blog as well about it. And I don't know, a bunch of coincidences happened. Like, I bought a Windows phone as well randomly that year, and I sort of like got into the whole Windows 8 thing and the whole ecosystem they were trying to build up. Like, I was getting into that, and I was getting into tech too. But yeah, it was around the Xbox One launch that I got into blogging. So I saw that wave of anger at the Xbox One launch, but like I didn't see. It wasn't really a console war perspective then. It was more like everyone coming together to stop Microsoft disrupting the industry. It was a bit different, but now I am seeing it. People getting annoyed and salty and sensitive, shall we say. It's just games,
It's just games.
Have fun with it, Like, trolling can be fun, joking around can be fun, But why get personal? Why get personal about it? It's just games. You don't have to get personal about it.
Yeah.
Like I don't get personal with Rand for liking Barbie horse racing games. You know, I don't get personal with Rand for him disliking Pokemon, even though it's really mean of him to dislike Pokemon. Like, how could you dislike Pikachu? Look how cute he is.
Are we
But
really
you
gonna
know,
go back to that? Nah, we ain't talking about that. Like, no, it's like, look, it's just games. PlayStation 5, Xbox, all great as long as you keep it, you keep it clean. It's like I'm good to have a conversation with anybody. It's when you cross over that line into personal stuff, I'm just like, yo,
are you telling me,
why are we
Rand, that
going there?
you don't wanna have a segment on the podcast about Pokemon Direct that happened today?
I mean, I know
You
what
don't.
happened, and I don't want to talk about it.
You don't. You don't want to talk about.
I'm going to beat Pokemon tonight. I'm going to tweet out that I'm finally finished with that piece of garbage, and then I'm done with
I
it
want you.
forever.
Can you tweet out after the show? Can you tweet out what your Pokemon team is? I want to see it. I want to see what Pokemon you've picked.
I got I mean, sure, yeah, I could do that.
Good.
So yeah, why do you want it? Why do you want to see who I have?
I just do.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I mean, it will you be like? Are you just interested in seeing what ones I picked?
Yeah. Why
Okay.
not?
Well, who'd
Why
you
not?
beat it with? Well, why are we talking about Pokemon? I'm getting off the subject. Um, a little bit of other news. Killer Instinct 2, not in development at Iron Galaxy. Jez had said before that you had heard that it wasn't in development whatsoever. So this kind of falls in line with that. I think that's a mistake. I think Killer Instinct was one of the bright spots of Xbox's launch, Xbox One, and they supported it really well. It got better when they shifted from Double Helix to Iron Galaxy, and it was a game that I thought they would continue for next generation with a Killer Instinct 2. So it's a little bit disappointing to hear that not only is Iron Galaxy not working on it, but there may not be a Killer Instinct in development at all.
Yeah.
I like.
I've heard that like they were. I've heard there was a time then they were exploring it, and then I heard that they just decided that they didn't have the right developer to make the next version of it. They decided Iron Galaxy wasn't the right dev or something, or Iron Galaxy was busy or something. I don't know. But for whatever reason, it wasn't Iron Galaxy. And then, we all know that Double Helix got bought out by Amazon. And what have they done since?
Nothing.
Anything?
Didn't they get one of their games canceled that they were working on?
I have no idea.
Has
But
Amazon?
like,
Has
I have
Amazon?
no idea what Amazon's doing.
Yeah. What
No
is
idea.
Amazon doing? Like, it's disappointing that there is no Killer Instinct, and who knows? Maybe there'll be a surprise. Maybe what you heard, they were just like, oh, like Jazz, there is no Killer Instinct, but haha, surprise, here it is, and it's actually
That's always possible. It's like for a whole year, every source we had said that the Surface Phone had been cancelled, and then surprise, Surface Phone was announced. So sometimes Microsoft can pull a fast one on you, man. Sometimes that can be unpredictable. So sometimes you just don't know for sure. But like Killer Instinct, I don't think is coming back. And I agree with you that it was one of the bright spots of last gen, but it was also in a niche genre that's dominated by a few heavy hitters like Smash Bros, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and there's only like there's a very limited amount of space in that genre for success. I feel like, especially when it comes to competition play, and like I think Killer Instinct was at Evo like a few years, and then got dropped and stuff like that, and hasn't been back since. And it's kind of sucks because I feel like Killer Instinct really did deserve better. But at the same time, I don't know how they could possibly bring it back because there was nothing wrong with the gameplay. The gameplay was great. There was nothing wrong with the netcode. The netcode was arguably the best in the industry. What the issue with it was, there was no real longevity. There was no like story mode really. We had like this really crappy story mode. Like the Guardians mode was okay. I can't remember what it's called now. Shadow Lords mode.
Yeah, like something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like okay-ish, but it was also it got old really fast. I don't know. It was a good idea, but I don't know, just low budget, I guess maybe. Um, I don't know. Like I love the way Killer Instinct plays, but I'm also someone who finds it intimidating to play online, so it's a bit weird. It's a niche genre, and it's a shame, but who knows? We might see it come back someday. But I
Yeah.
think it needs to be like it needs to kind of be like Age of Empires, where it takes a break and then comes back with the right developer at the right time, sort of thing. But we'll wait. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't think it's coming back anytime soon.
I don't think I don't. I mean, I hope it's coming back at some point, and I think it's gonna, especially like Microsoft might be in a bad position fighting game wise if there's no Killer Instinct, and Sony somehow grabs exclusive rights to Street Fighter 6.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if Street Fighter 6 is multiplat, then it won't be so bad.
If
But
it's
if it's
multiplat, but what if it's
yeah,
not? What if Sony does the
yeah,
same deal that did with Street Fighter 5, and that's exclusive to the PlayStation 5?
yeah, that'll be an issue.
And like no fighting games on Xbox, which the fighting game community is on PlayStation because of that. I think that would be a big loss.
It's kind of like PlayStation has Street Fighter and Xbox has Forza for the niche racing genre, I guess.
Like motorsport.
If it's niche. Yeah. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. It's a good fighting game on Xbox.
What's a good fighting game? Mortal Kombat 11.
Rivals of Ether. Rivals of Ether.
Hmm.
You know that?
Rivals of Ether.
Like,
I've heard of the game. I have never played it, but I have heard of it.
It's a 2D Smash Bros clone by one of the devs who worked on Killer Instinct. It is awesome, but it's also kind of like, again, living in Smash Bros shadow.
Right.
But
Everything seems to live in Smash Brothers shadow.
Smash Bros is just too good. It is just too good.
Pixelbit G with the super chat says no longevity. I have near 800 hours. Wow. There you go, Jez.
No longevity for casual players, I guess. Like, is what I more meant. Like, it needs like something more like Mortal Kombat story mode, I think, to attract the casual audience. Like if you're playing Killer Instinct and you're not hardcore into fighting games, then all you've got to do really is PvP or competitive play. Like there's tons of stuff to unlock, but you can skip that progression by paying for it.
Yeah.
So it needed a story mode like Mortal Kombat. That's just my personal opinion.
DI Almighty Spartan God wants to know, what would you feel about Horizon Zero Dawn coming to Xbox if ever? I mean, I wouldn't really feel any. I mean, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't really feel anything, to be honest with you.
What was the question?
If Horizon Zero Dawn came to Xbox, which is a PlayStation game from a PlayStation developer,
why would that ever happen?
Well, I doubt it would ever happen. But hey, nobody thought Major League Baseball would come to Xbox, and that's coming to Xbox. I don't know. Like, I would grab a bucket of popcorn and I would just read the salty tears of PlayStation fans crying about it. That would bring me entertainment, because it'd be funny, because I think people overreact to all this stuff. I don't know. Like, it would be funny.
What if Death Stranding goes multiplat one day?
I mean,
is that a thing that could be possible?
Oh, but I mean, Death Stranding's already multiplat. It's on PC.
But I mean, coming to Xbox one day.
Yeah,
I know Sony funded it, but like, could that have a time period attached to it?
I don't think so. No.
What about Death Stranding 2?
No.
Do they own the franchise?
Sony does own the IP, yeah.
So that's weird though. Why would they put it on PC if they were not P?
It could just be a deal they did with Kojima to get the game. They could be like, you know what? We'll fund the game, and he's like, I also want to put it on PC. I mean, who knows the finer details of the contract? It is what it is. But you know what? I think we're gonna.
That makes me salty, because I will have to buy a PlayStation 5 for Death Stranding 2. I will have to.
If there is a sequel, I mean, Kojima might work on something else.
You better not.
You really think Death Stranding 2 is going to be a thing? Well, you haven't finished it yet, so you don't even know how
I
it
haven't finished
ends.
it yet, so
You
I
haven't
don't know
finished
how
it
it
yet,
ends.
yeah.
But I just like I don't even care how it ends. I just like the universe already. I'm invested.
Well, we'll see how you
So
feel. What chapter are you on? Are you still on chapter 3?
yeah,
So it's
moving
been a
through.
week and you're still on chapter 3, like pretty much everybody else who plays the game for the most part. They're stuck on chapter 3 forever. Yeah.
I'm not stuck on it. I just got busy.
Uh-huh,
I'm not
uh-huh.
bored or anything
We'll
like
see.
that.
We'll see how long. We'll see how long it takes you to finish the game. It took me a week. I finished it in a week. We'll see how long it takes Jez to finish. Will you have it done by February? That's the question. You got.
Probably not if it's as long as
I mean,
people have
it's
said.
you gotta play it. There are no more playing these little dinky games that you sometimes play. It's Death Stranding time,
Dinky
baby.
games? What's
Sometimes
dinky games?
I don't know. Sometimes you play these like dinky games, like just
Wow.
mainline. You like Death Stranding so much. Why aren't you playing it nonstop?
Because it's hard to multitask while playing Death Stranding.
It's hard to
Like I can play,
multitask.
like for example, I can play Darkest Dungeon, and I can put the controller down at any time and do some work. But if I'm playing Death Stranding, it's irritating to be interrupted in the middle of a cutscene or something and pause it and then go back to it and forget what I'm doing. You know, I have to play Death Stranding in sort of 1 to 2 hour time slots.
Zalker says Rand will finish Pokemon when Jez finishes Death Stranding. Well, then he better hurry up because I'll be finishing Pokemon tonight or tomorrow. So he don't got a lot of time. Better hurry
we'll
up.
see.
But I think that's going to be a good spot to end the podcast, or at least the show. Obviously, we'll still take some questions. So if you guys want to ask us something, go right ahead. Put it in chat. We will do our best to answer it. Want to thank everybody who turned up live. I think we had like 760 people, which is great. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Follow me and Jez on Twitter. All that info is in the description. If you're listening to this later on Google Play or iTunes or SoundCloud or Spotify, we appreciate you. We put it up there because, hey, you know, a lot of you asked us, you didn't want to watch it on YouTube. You want to listen to it wherever. And we're like, yeah, no problem. Jez was like, let's put it up there for the fans that want to listen to it. I'm like, sure, that's no problem. And Jez has been pretty good at getting it up pretty much right after the show's over instead of like a day or two later, which I don't even know why we did that. It was just one of those things. So yeah, so thanks for being here, guys, and we'll see you next week. But let's take some questions. Sean Labrie says, so no more hot dog gifts. No, you can have the hot dog gifts. I guess it depends on who you're talking to, because then I see who you're talking to, and I don't like that, because I just have to sit there and just roll my eyes. So you can use all the hot dog gifts you want. They Debaters wants to know, do you think Microsoft will help Nintendo with online? I don't think so. Gaming Addict wants to know, ask Jez when he going to face me in Pokemon.
Who said that?
Gaming Addict.
Yo, DM me on Twitter. Give me your Switch ID and we'll go at it, man.
Oh,
You don't want to challenge me to Pokemon. You will not win.
He says you won't win. You won't win, Addict. Jez is laying. So who is your team? What's your best Pokemon you got right now?
I don't want to tell him my team.
Oh, you don't want him to get him prepared?
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
Okay. Apparently he'll destroy you, Addict. We'll see. We'll see how it is, right? Let's see. We got Hans Olo says, have you seen the leaked Halo Infinite stuff? Looks like there's a making of the About E3 trailer coming soon. No, I haven't. Nobody sent it to me. I saw this Xbox Series X Insane Demo Graphics 2020 thing, but I couldn't tell if this was legitimately like a real thing, or if it was just somebody strung together and kind of bookend with like Series X stuff. So I have no idea if this is actually real or not, and I have not seen the Halo Infinite stuff. So somebody would have to link me so I can see that, and I'll take a look at it. Sin Vendetta says, what were your guys' favorite movies of 2019? Favorite movies?
Ooh.
That's a good one.
I don't watch many movies, but I did just
one.
watch Star Wars.
Joker was probably my favorite movie of 2019.
Oh, that came in. Well,
Yeah.
the only two movies I saw in 2019 were Joker and Star Wars. And Joker was
Here's the thing.
infinitely better.
Zalker87, friend of mine, good friend of mine, I talk to all the time. He always talks about how he's a super knowledgeable DC fan, how he knows everything about Batman, how he has this undying love for everything Warner Brothers, DC. He's this comic book aficionado. You know, he loves Batman vs Superman, even though that movie is a fucking travesty and it's a goddamn train wreck, right? He's literally defended. But Martha, why's your mom the same name as, you know, like that whole scene with Bruce Wayne and Superman. He's like, no, if you really like look into the why Superman and Bruce are doing that, it totally makes sense, right? Damage controls and all that stupid stuff, right?
I watched that movie when I was really drunk. I don't remember any of it because it was so boring.
But horrible horrible movie. He can't, I can't even talk. He's like, praising Zack Snyder, one of the worst directors out there. All style over substance.
Dude, don't say that.
Right?
Look at this.
All style over substance. Like, release the Snyder Cut. Release the Snyder Cut. That movie's gonna be even worse than what it came out with whoever directed it. Like, he's a terrible director, and he's such this Batman fan, such this comic book fan, such this DC lover. You would think somebody like that would go see Joker. Nah, didn't go see Joker. Didn't see it at the show. Hasn't even freaking finished Batman Arkham Knight on Xbox, and then he tells me he's a Batman fan. Hasn't even seen Joker or beat Batman Arkham Knight. What is this? Come on, Zocker, you can do better, right?
Wow, Rand's going in on this proposal.
Yeah, I did. So Darth Paxton with the $20 super chat. He says, could the fact that we've already seen Hellblade 2 and Everwild mean Xbox is showing bigger tentpole titles earlier and smaller games? Like, Tell Me Why, Grounded, closer to launch. Do you think this is the plan going forward?
I think the plan adapts based on the milestones the games have achieved in development. I don't think like they can. I mean, Phil's always said they want to have like a reason. Basically, they want to have a reason to subscribe to Game Pass every quarter, and then maybe every month, even going forward, eventually. So maybe the long-term goal is something that follows a more consistent announcement cycle. I tell you, man, I know you don't like Pokemon, but I absolutely love what Nintendo does with their Nintendo Directs. Like, people go crazy when Nintendo's like, oh, by the way, we're gonna have a Nintendo Direct, and it's like we're just gonna announce a ton of games now. You know, we just feel like it. We're just gonna announce a ton of games randomly out the blue. Mm-hmm. No, there's no pre-warning, or maybe like 24 hours pre-warning. Nintendo Direct tomorrow. It spreads throughout the community, and then you get like a bajillion people watching it on YouTube. I love the way Nintendo does that, and I would hope one day Microsoft can get to that sort of level of direct engagement. I don't see why everything needs to have this super overproduced like show like Inside Xbox. Like, Inside Xbox is cool, and I know they work hard on it, but I think like Nintendo Direct is so much of a better format, personally. But it is what it is. But I went off on a tangent there. I think it just depends on where the state of play is for each game as it's happening.
I think Microsoft is trying to build hype for the new system. I think they're trying to dispel narratives surrounding the system, like they don't have any bigger games, or they're not any mature games. I also think that they finally have stuff to show, where in previous years there wasn't anything. So now they feel more confident in showing things further away. Stuff like Tell Me Why and Grounded, it's like, well, passion project for Obsidian, it's coming out early next year. Tell Me Why, I mean, I guess you do have to wonder why that is being launched with the Xbox One and not being held for next gen. I don't really know on there. But I mean, obviously...
Well, that's the thing. Another thing they've always said is like we don't want to hold a game back arbitrarily.
Well, yeah, I guess
if it's
that's
ready,
true.
just launch it.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So, Di is saying, "Why aren't you answering my questions?" I had to answer the other ones first, man. I'll get to it. He says, "Ass or titties?" So I'm gonna go with.
I swear
he's asked this before, and I say, you know what? I've always been a titty man, always. But I do like looking at a nice ass, but. Titties, Jez, really quickly.
I decline.
He declines the answer. Okay.
I decline to participate in this vulgarity.
Okay. New York or Chicago pizza?
We don't have those.
Okay, you don't have those. So I know people think I'm going to choose Chicago because I'm from here. But you know what I'm saying? Chicago pizza's trash. Yeah, I'll take New York style pizza all day, every day. I have never been a fan of Chicago's pizza. There's just too much like tomato sauce. I just don't like it. Give me New York style. And he says Jez or Phil Spencer. So who'd I choose between Jez or Phil Spencer?
Phil didn't make you play Pokemon, I guess.
I guess I declined to answer that.
Oh wow, wow!
I mean, I do a podcast and I talk to Jez all the time. I only get to talk to Phil maybe like once a month or something. Although Phil did invite me to E3 and Jez never did. So, I mean, there is that.
I was actually meaning to ask you that. Are you gonna come to E3?
I mean, maybe we'll see. I mean, Phil put me on TV, so Jez never put me on TV. So there's that. Reclaimer.
I put you on Spotify. That's better than TV.
Reclaimer wants to know who wins in a melee, Dealer or Jez. Well, I'm sorry to say this, Jez, but Dealer's got you beat on that one, dude.
I'm a lover, not a fire.
Yeah. Thanaros wants to know, will we be able to suspend multiple games on these new systems? Yes, they've already said so. Probably like up to 3, maybe, right? That's the current rumor, like up to 3 games suspended at once. You can kind of go in between.
Idea. Yeah, I've heard that's what they're doing, but I have no idea the specifics.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff we're just gonna have to wait and see for some of this thing.
Sparhawk wants to know, will Xbox Series X be mouse and keyboard compatible day one? I would assume so.
Yes, because it uses the same operating system.
Yeah.
Oh, Rand, by the way, I've heard that the Xbox Dash for released right now is the same as the Xbox One Dash.
So the Xbox One Dash in preview, the one that I have right now is the same one that's on the Xbox Series X.
Yep.
So right no changes whatsoever.
It looks the same, yeah.
I mean, I did wonder like with them kind of tweaking that dashboard as it is and still having it in preview if that was going to be the dashboard. I think that's kind of a mistake. I don't understand why they don't have a different look for the new console, but who am I to judge, right? Monty says, any rumors on a Microsoft dev purchases? There's always rumors, buddy. The question is if they ever pan out, if the talks fall through. I've heard there's talk. Microsoft is talking to people. Will those talks actually proceed to the point where it gets to them buying a studio? That's the big question. But they're definitely still talking to people. Jez, haven't you heard something similar?
Yeah, pretty much. It's not a case of, I don't know. It's just a case of what can they actually achieve, I guess.
Yeah. Ideal Fact says, is Sony trying to copy the features from Xbox like 3D audio, Atmos, which Xbox has, adaptive triggers, Elite Series controller, and Blu-ray drive? I don't think so. I don't think they're trying to copy the features. I think the Blu-ray drive, they were like pretty adamant about that in the PlayStation 4, and it was just like something they needed for this one. That adaptive triggers, I know Microsoft has like that with the Xbox One, but I don't really think many game devs actually use it. 3D audio, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I use Dolby Atmos on my Xbox, and it sounds great. So we'll have to see what Sony's 3D audio is. I don't know. Like, is since Sony announced that they have an SSD first, does that mean Microsoft copied them with the SSD tech and the Xbox Series X? I mean, I don't think you can kind of look at it like that. Tyler Foster wants to know, will next-gen Xbox only support 4K display, or will 1080p still work always? Confused with text.
Yes, 1080p will work. No worries about that.
Yeah, 1080p will work. We got a super chat from Sid Vendetta. Would you two ever do a live in-person on-camera Xbox 2 podcast together? Of course. We've talked about that before. It'll probably happen at some point down the road. But yeah, we definitely won't rule that out. Hassan, I'm not even going to try to butcher your last name, buddy. Thanks for a super chat. He says, Obsidian's and Playground's next game. Blind Squirrel Studios, People Can Fly, Xbox Game Studio, ? So Playground's next game is Fable. I'm 99.9% sure it's Fable. I've been 99.9% sure it's Fable for years now. Obsidian's next game, rumored to be some sort of, or at least said to be their version of Skyrim. Blind Squirrel Studios, People Can Fly. I don't know about either of those. So what do you think, Jez?
Sorry, what was the question again?
Playground's next game.
Oh, it's definitely Fable. I
Fable.
think.
Obsidian's next game. After Grounded, I guess.
It's rumored to be Skyrim-esque. I often wonder if they're going to take if it's in the Pillars of if it's in the Pillars franchise. If it's like
Yeah,
how
like in that
Fallout,
yeah, in that world. Yeah.
yeah, like how Fallout made the leap from 2D isometric to 3D. I'm wondering if Pillars, if they're going to do it within the Pillars franchise, because that's their homegrown franchise, and it's really cool, but it's limited in reach because a lot of people don't want to play turn-based isometric. So maybe they take it 3D, maybe they take it Skyrim-esque. I'd be down. I would be down for that.
Yeah.
No, we don't know yet.
Yeah, we don't know. And Victor with the super chat says, "Happy New Year's, Randa Jez." We appreciate that. I think that's it. We've been on for quite some bit. I enjoyed my dismantling of Zocker. I'm such a DC comic book fan. I love Batman. Doesn't watch Joker. Doesn't beat Batman Arkham Knight. What? You've been exposed, Zocker. Talking about cleaning up my channel. Clean up your gamer card and play some games, bruh.
Wow.
Get it.
That's mean.
Get off my nuts.
Oh dear.
I don't hate Zocker. We're really good friends. I know some people are like, "Man, do you hate Zocker?" No, please. I just wish Zocker would practice what he preaches. I love Batman. Doesn't play Batman Arkham Knight. Doesn't watch the Joker. It's like, are you serious right now? Are you serious?
Joker was so good. I
It
can't
was.
believe it.
Yeah.
It was.
So with that all said, I think this is where we're gonna end it. We'll be back next week with another show. Hopefully there'll be some stuff to talk about. More interesting stuff than just like a logo and all this other stuff. So you know what? Before we go, let me get a Zalker is a fraud in chat going on here. Let's make sure everybody knows that Zalker is a fraud when it comes to Batman.
What did what did people say about my microphone, by the way?
Oh, people said that you sound much better.
Well, that's good. That's good.
That's good.
Because getting this mic set up was complicated, an effort.
Yeah. So yeah, we appreciate everyone being here. We'll see you next week. Hope everybody has a good weekend, and yeah, keep it gaming, everyone. And later.
Bye.